Marcus Thompson was a man who didn't need introductions at the small regional airport where he worked. He wasn't flashy or loud, just a quiet, dependable presence with grease-stained hands and an uncanny ability to fix things others thought were beyond repair. Marcus had spent over 10 years working as an aircraft mechanic, climbing the ranks despite facing challenges that many of his colleagues never had to think about. Being one of the few black mechanics in an industry dominated by people who looked nothing like him meant Marcus often had to work twice as hard to prove himself. But he never let it bring him down. Instead, he poured his energy into perfecting his craft, earning respect through sheer determination and skill. On this particular day, Marcus was eager to wrap up his shift. It had been a long one, filled with routine inspections and minor repairs on commercial planes. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting golden hues across the tarmac. He glanced at his watch, thinking about how nice it would be to finally head home, kick off his boots, and relax with a warm meal. Just as he grabbed his toolbox and headed toward the exit, the familiar crackle of his radio interrupted his thoughts. "Marcus, we need you back out here ASAP," came the urgent voice from dispatch. "There's a situation with a private jet." Marcus sighed, but quickly turned around. Private jets weren't uncommon at the airport, but they usually flew in and out without much fuss. Still, when something went wrong with one of these high-profile flights, it became everyone's priority. As he walked briskly back onto the tarmac, he spotted a sleek silver and black jet parked near the VIP terminal. Its engines hummed softly, ready for takeoff, but clearly not going anywhere just yet. Surrounding the plane was a flurry of activity. Ground crew members whispering nervously, pilots pacing impatiently, and a group of sharply dressed individuals standing nearby, looking visibly agitated. As Marcus approached, he noticed the name emblazoned on the side of the jet. Langley 1. Adrian Langley, the billionaire tech mogul known for revolutionizing artificial intelligence, owned this plane. Marcus had seen pictures of him in magazines and online. Everyone knew Adrian Langley's name. His company was worth billions, and his private jet was rumored to be one of the most advanced aircraft in the world. If there was ever a time to feel intimidated, this was it. But Marcus pushed those feelings aside. This wasn't about fame or fortune. It was about doing his job. When Marcus reached the base of the stairs leading up to the jet, one of the pilots met him halfway. "We've got a problem," the pilot said, his voice tense. "Something's wrong with the hydraulics and we're getting error messages on the flight control system. We're scheduled to leave in 20 minutes and Mr. Langley doesn't tolerate delays." Marcus nodded, already mentally preparing himself for what lay ahead. "Let me take a look," he said calmly, though inside he could feel the pressure mounting. Working on a standard commercial plane was one thing. But this was next level. The stakes felt higher, the eyes watching him sharper. Every decision he made mattered, not just for the safety of the passengers, but also for his own reputation. Climbing. Aboard the jet, Marcus couldn't help but marvel at its design. Everything was polished to perfection, from the gleaming chrome fixtures to the rows of plush leather seats. Even the cockpit was a masterpiece of modern engineering, packed with screens and controls that seemed straight out of a sci-fi movie. But Marcus didn't have time to admire the luxury. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. The first step was diagnosing the issue. After inspecting the hydraulic lines, he discovered a small leak caused by a loose fitting. It wasn't catastrophic, but left unchecked, it could have led to serious problems mid-flight. Next, he moved to the flight control system. The error messages pointed to a software glitch, likely triggered by the hydraulic issue. Fixing the physical part would only solve half the problem. He'd need to recalibrate the software to ensure everything worked seamlessly together. Time was ticking away. Marcus could hear murmurs outside the plane, snippets of conversation between the ground crew and Adrian's entourage. Someone mentioned canceling the flight altogether if the issue couldn't be resolved soon. Marcus blocked out the noise, focusing solely on the task at hand. He retrieved tools from his kit and began tightening the hydraulic line. Once that was secure, he called over one of the onboard engineers to assist with the software recalibration. Together, they worked methodically, testing each component until the error messages disappeared. Finally, after what felt like hours but was actually less than 45 minutes, Marcus stepped back and wiped his brow. "It's good to go," he announced confidently. The relief in the room was palpable. Pilots exchanged relieved glances, and the tension among the ground crew dissipated almost instantly. Just as Marcus was packing up his tools and preparing to leave, one of Adrian Langley's assistants appeared at the top of the stairs. "Mr. Langley wants to see you in his office," the assistant said curtly. Marcus froze, unsure of what to expect. Had he done something wrong? Or did Adrian simply want to thank him personally? Either way, there was no refusing the summons. Taking a deep breath, Marcus followed the assistant into the depths of the luxurious jet, wondering what awaited him inside. Little did Marcus know, this seemingly ordinary day was about to change his life forever. As Marcus stepped into the heart of the luxurious jet, he couldn't help but feel like he was entering another world. The interior was unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Every detail screamed wealth and sophistication: polished wood paneling, soft ambient lighting, and plush seating that looked more like something you'd find in a five-star hotel than on an airplane. Even the air smelled different, carrying a faint hint of expensive cologne mixed with the sterile cleanliness of high-end materials. The assistant led him through a narrow corridor lined with closed doors until they reached one marked discreetly, with a small plaque that read, "Office." Knocking lightly, the assistant opened the door and gestured for Marcus to step inside. Hesitant but curious, Marcus entered, his boots making barely a sound against the thick carpet. The room was compact yet exquisitely designed, dominated by a sleek desk covered in gadgets and papers. Behind the desk sat Adrian Langley himself. Adrian didn't look up immediately. Instead, he continued typing furiously on a tablet, his brow furrowed in concentration. Marcus stood awkwardly near the doorway, unsure whether to sit or remain standing. He glanced around the office, taking in the framed awards on the walls, the rows of books neatly stacked on shelves, and a large monitor displaying complex graphs and data points. It all felt so far removed from the gritty hangar where Marcus spent most of his days. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Adrian set the tablet aside and leaned back in his chair. For the first time since Marcus entered, their eyes met. Adrian's gaze was sharp, calculating, but not unkind. "You're the mechanic who fixed my plane?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, nodding slightly. His hands were clasped tightly in front of him, betraying just a hint of nervousness. Despite his years of experience, being face-to-face with someone as powerful as Adrian Langley was intimidating. Adrian studied him for a moment longer before speaking again. "I've been told you did good work today. Saved us from a major headache, and probably saved me millions of dollars." Marcus shifted uncomfortably under the compliment. "It's my job, sir. I'm just glad I could help." But Adrian wasn't done. Leaning forward slightly, he rested his elbows on the desk and steepled his fingers. "Tell me, Mr. Thompson, how long have you been doing this kind of work?" The question caught Marcus off guard. Usually, people weren't interested in his backstory unless it involved fixing their broken machines. "Still," he answered honestly, "about 12 years now. I started out working on smaller planes, then moved up to commercial aircraft. Private jets they're a bit outside my usual scope, but the principles are the same." Adrian nodded thoughtfully. 12 years is no small feat, especially given the challenges you must have faced getting here. Marcus blinked, surprised by the comment. Most people didn't acknowledge the hurdles he'd had to overcome, or even realize they existed. But Adrian Langley wasn't most people. There was something about the way he spoke, direct yet thoughtful, that made Marcus feel seen in a way he rarely experienced. Encouraged, Marcus decided to elaborate. It hasn't always been easy, he admitted. When I first started, there weren't many people who looked like me in this field. Some folks assumed I wouldn't know what I was doing, no matter how hard I worked. But I kept pushing forward because I love what I do. Planes. They're fascinating. They're these massive machines, yet they're so delicate at the same time. Every part has to work perfectly, or the whole thing falls apart. That challenge, that's what keeps me going. Adrian listened intently, occasionally jotting notes on a pad beside him. When Marcus finished speaking, Adrian gave him a small smile. "That's exactly why I wanted to meet you," he said. "People like you, people who understand both the technical side and the bigger picture, are rare and valuable." Marcus frowned slightly, unsure of what Adrian meant. "People like me," he echoed. "Yes," Adrian replied. "Think about it. You didn't panic when things went wrong today. You stayed focused, solved the problem, and got the job done efficiently. That's not something everyone can do, especially under pressure. Now imagine applying those skills to something even bigger, something transformative." The words hung in the air, leaving Marcus puzzled. Transformative? What could Adrian possibly mean? Before Marcus could ask, Adrian continued. "I run a tech company, as you probably know. We specialize in artificial intelligence and advanced engineering. Lately, though, we've been exploring new ways to innovate. Not just in software, but in hardware, too. One area we're particularly excited about is sustainable aviation." At this, Marcus perked up. Sustainable aviation wasn't a new concept, but it was gaining traction as industries worldwide sought greener solutions. Electric planes, hybrid engines, reduced emissions, all of these ideas fascinated Marcus. He'd read articles about them during his downtime, wondering if he'd ever get the chance to be part of such groundbreaking work. Seeing Marcus's interest, Adrian pressed on. "We're building a team dedicated to developing the next generation of eco-friendly aircraft. These won't just be prototypes. They'll be functional, practical machines capable of changing how people travel. But to make that happen, we need experts who understand the intricacies of flight mechanics. People who can bridge the gap between cutting-edge technology and real-world application." Marcus's mind raced as he processed what Adrian was saying. Was he suggesting? No, it couldn't be. Could it? Adrian seemed to sense Marcus's confusion. "Let me cut to the chase," he said. "I want you to join our team. Not as a mechanic, at least not in the traditional sense, but as a leader. Someone who can oversee the mechanical operations side of this project. You'd be responsible for ensuring that every piece of equipment functions flawlessly while also collaborating with engineers and designers to push boundaries." For a moment, Marcus was speechless. This offer was completely unexpected. Him? Leading a team for a billionaire's futuristic aviation project? It sounded like something out of a dream, or maybe a movie. I don't know what to say," Marcus stammered finally. "This is incredible. But why me? Surely there are others more qualified." Adrian shook his head firmly. "Don't sell yourself short. Qualifications are important, sure, but so is perspective. Your experience gives you insight that someone fresh out of a lab might lack. Plus, let's not forget, you proved yourself today. Under immense pressure, you delivered results. That's the kind of person I want on my team." Marcus swallowed, hard, trying to process everything. On one hand, this was an opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to step into a role he'd never imagined possible. On the other hand, it was daunting. Could he handle the responsibility? Would he fit into Adrian's fast-paced, high-stakes world? Before he could respond, Adrian added, "Take some time to think about it. I know it's a big decision, but remember this. The future of aviation depends on people like you. People who aren't afraid to tackle challenges head-on and who believe in the power of innovation." With that, Adrian stood, signaling the end of their conversation. As Marcus left the office and made his way back across the tarmac, his mind buzzed with possibilities. This meeting had started as a simple thank you session, but it had turned into something much greater. Whether he accepted Adrian's offer or not, one thing was certain: Marcus Thompson's life would never be the same again. The days following Marcus's meeting with Adrian Langley were a whirlwind of emotions. On the surface, life went on as usual. He returned to his regular shifts at the airport, fixing planes and troubleshooting problems just like he always did. But beneath the calm exterior, Marcus's mind was racing. Adrian's offer lingered in his thoughts, replaying over and over like a song stuck on repeat. It wasn't just the magnitude of the opportunity that kept him up at night. It was the weight of the decision itself. Should he stay in the comfort of what he knew, or take a leap into the unknown? At first, Marcus tried to push the idea aside. He told himself it was too good to be true. After all, why would someone like Adrian Langley, a billionaire whose name was synonymous with innovation, choose him, an ordinary mechanic from a modest background? Surely there were others more qualified, more polished, more everything. But no matter how hard he tried to dismiss it, the seed of possibility had already been planted. And every time he walked past a plane or inspected an engine, he found himself imagining what it might be like to work on something truly revolutionary. To make matters worse, or better, depending on how you looked at it, Adrian didn't leave him alone. Over the next few days, Marcus received 2 emails and even a phone call from one of Adrian's assistants, each message polite but insistent. "Mr. Langley wanted me to check in," the assistant said during their second call. "He understands. This is a big decision and wants to give you space, but he also hopes you'll consider joining us soon." The pressure was subtle, yet undeniable. Adrian clearly wanted an answer, and fast. Marcus decided to talk to people he trusted. First, he called his older sister, Angela, who had always been his sounding board. Growing up, Angela had been the one to encourage him when things got tough, reminding him that he was capable of far more than he gave himself credit for. When Marcus explained the situation, Angela didn't hesitate. "Take it," she said without missing a beat. "This is your chance to do something amazing, Marcus. You've worked so hard for years, and now the universe is finally giving you a break. Don't let fear hold you back." Her words resonated deeply, but Marcus still felt uncertain. Later that evening, he visited his longtime friend and co-worker, Jamal. They sat in Jamal's garage-turned-workshop, sipping coffee while discussing the pros and cons of the offer. Jamal listened intently, nodding occasionally as Marcus laid out his concerns. "It sounds incredible," Jamal admitted after a pause, "but I get why you're hesitant. Change can be scary, especially when it's this big. Just remember, though, you've spent your whole life proving doubters wrong. Why stop now?" Jamal's encouragement gave Marcus a boost of confidence, but it wasn't until the next morning, while tinkering with an old engine at home, that clarity began to emerge. As he tightened bolts and adjusted parts, Marcus realized something. He'd always thrived under pressure. Whether it was fixing a stubborn piece of machinery or navigating the challenges of being one of the few black mechanics in his field, he'd never backed down from a challenge. In fact, those obstacles had shaped him into the person he was today. So why should this be any different? With newfound resolve, Marcus drafted an email to Adrian's assistant, requesting a follow-up meeting. Within hours, he received a response, inviting him to visit Adrian's corporate headquarters the very next day. The sleek glass building loomed large against the skyline as Marcus approached it, its modern design reflecting the ambition of the man inside. Stepping through the revolving doors, Marcus felt a mix of excitement and nerves bubbling in his chest. This was it, the moment of truth. He was ushered into a spacious conference room where Adrian waited, surrounded by blueprints and digital displays showcasing various aircraft designs. Unlike their previous encounter on the jet, this meeting felt less formal and more collaborative. Adrian greeted Marcus warmly, offering him a seat before diving straight into the details of the project. "Before we go further," Adrian began, I want to show you what we're working on." With a tap on a tablet, images sprang to life on the wall-sized screen behind him. There were sketches of futuristic planes powered by renewable energy sources, prototypes of lightweight materials designed to reduce fuel consumption, and videos of early test flights. Each concept was breathtaking in its vision, blending cutting-edge technology with practical functionality. "This is Phase 1, Adrian explained. "Our goal is to create a fleet of sustainable aircraft capable of operating commercially within the next decade. But we can't do it without people like you, people who understand the mechanics of flight inside and out. Your role wouldn't just involve overseeing repairs or maintenance, you'd be part of the design process too, helping us ensure that every component works seamlessly together." As Marcus absorbed the information, he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This wasn't just about fixing planes anymore. It was about reimagining them entirely. The scale of the project was staggering, but so was the potential impact. If successful, these innovations could transform the aviation industry, making air travel cleaner, safer, and more accessible for millions of people around the world. Seeing Marcus's growing enthusiasm, Adrian leaned forward slightly. "I know it's a lot to take in," he said, "but I believe in you, Marcus. I think you have exactly what it takes to lead this team, not just because of your technical skills, but because of your mindset. You see solutions where others see problems. That's rare, and it's exactly what we need right now." For the first time since receiving the offer, Marcus felt a flicker of certainty. Maybe he was ready for this. Maybe all those years of hard work, late nights, and sacrifices had prepared him for this exact moment. Looking at Adrian, he nodded slowly. "I'm in," he said, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "Tell me what I need to do next." Adrian smiled, visibly pleased. "Welcome aboard, Marcus. Let's change the future of flight together." And just like that, Marcus Thompson stepped into a new chapter of his life. What started as a routine repair job had blossomed into an opportunity to shape the future. As he left the corporate headquarters later that afternoon, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking on air, not unlike the planes he loved so much. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to dream bigger than ever before. The weeks that followed Marcus's decision to join Adrian Langley's Sustainable Aviation Division were a blur of activity. It felt as though his entire life had shifted gears overnight, moving from the predictable rhythm of airport maintenance to the fast-paced, high-energy world of cutting-edge innovation. At first, Marcus wondered if he'd made the right choice. The corporate environment was so different from what he was used to: sleek offices filled with people in tailored suits, endless meetings, and jargon-heavy discussions about synergy and disruptive technologies. But despite the initial culture shock, Marcus quickly realized that this new role wasn't just about fitting in. It was about bringing his unique perspective to the table. Adrian wasted no time getting Marcus settled into his position as head of mechanical operations. On his first day, Marcus was introduced to a diverse team of engineers, designers, and technicians, all experts in their respective fields. They came from all over the world, each bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience to the project. While Marcus initially worried about whether he'd measure up, he soon discovered that his hands-on expertise complemented their theoretical brilliance perfectly. Together, they formed a powerhouse group united by a shared vision: to revolutionize air travel. One of the first challenges Marcus faced was adapting to the scope of the project. Sustainable aviation wasn't just about tweaking existing designs. It required rethinking everything from scratch. The team was working on prototypes for hybrid electric planes, which combined traditional jet engines with electric propulsion systems. These planes aimed to drastically reduce carbon emissions while maintaining the speed and efficiency needed for commercial travel. For Marcus, this meant diving deep into areas of engineering he'd never explored before, like battery technology and aerodynamics. To help him transition, Adrian arranged for Marcus to attend intensive training sessions led by top scientists and engineers. At first, Marcus felt out of his depth, struggling to grasp complex concepts that seemed light years away from tightening bolts or replacing hydraulic lines. But he approached the learning process with the same determination that had carried him through every challenge in his career. Slowly but surely, the pieces began to fall into place. By the end of the second week, Marcus could confidently discuss topics like energy density and thrust-to-weight ratios, terms he'd barely heard before joining the team. As Marcus grew more comfortable in his role, he also started making waves within the division. His practical insights often bridged gaps between theory and execution, helping the team refine their designs. During one brainstorming session, for example, the engineers debated how to optimize the placement of batteries without compromising structural integrity. Marcus suggested reinforcing certain sections of the fuselage using advanced composite materials, a solution inspired by his years of repairing aircraft frames. The idea not only solved the problem, but also shaved valuable weight off the prototype, earning praise from both Adrian and the rest of the team. But Marcus's contributions went beyond technical expertise. He brought something even more valuable to the table: leadership. Many of the younger engineers looked up to him, seeing him as proof that hard work and resilience could open doors regardless of background. Marcus made it a point to mentor them, sharing stories from his own journey and offering advice whenever they faced setbacks. One young technician named Elena, who had recently graduated from an engineering program, confided in Marcus about feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to perform. "I feel like everyone expects me to have all the answers," she admitted during lunch one day. Marcus smiled knowingly. "Trust me, I've been there," he said. "The truth is, nobody has all the answers, not even Adrian. What matters is how you handle the questions. Keep asking. Keep experimenting and don't be afraid to fail. That's how we learn." Elena nodded, visibly reassured. Over time, she became one of Marcus's closest collaborators, contributing innovative ideas that pushed the project forward. Watching her grow reminded Marcus of why he'd accepted the job in the first place: to inspire others and create opportunities for those who might otherwise be overlooked. Of course, the road wasn't always smooth. There were moments of frustration, late nights spent troubleshooting stubborn issues, and disagreements among team members about the best way to approach problems. One particularly tense meeting involved a heated debate over whether to prioritize range or payload capacity in the early prototypes. Some argued that longer flights were essential for commercial viability, while others believed maximizing cargo space would attract airlines faster. Tempers flared as both sides dug in their heels, leaving the room thick with tension. That's when Marcus stepped in. Drawing on his experience as a mediator in the hangar, he calmly suggested a compromise. "What if we focus on modular designs?" he proposed. "We can build components that allow operators to switch between configurations depending on their needs. That way, we're not limiting ourselves to one option." The idea struck a chord, diffusing the argument and paving the way for a creative solution that satisfied everyone. Through it all, Marcus maintained a strong working relationship with Adrian. Unlike many CEOs, Adrian took a hands-on approach to the project, frequently visiting the lab to check on progress and offer guidance. Though their backgrounds couldn't have been more different, the two men developed a mutual respect rooted in their shared commitment to excellence. Adrian valued Marcus's grounded perspective, often seeking his input on decisions big and small. In turn, Marcus admired Adrian's willingness to listen and adapt, qualities that set him apart from other executives Marcus had encountered. By the 3-month mark, the team had achieved several key milestones. Their first full-scale prototype, sleek, futuristic plane powered by a hybrid electric system, was ready for ground testing. As Marcus stood beside Adrian on the tarmac, watching the prototype come to life for the first time, he felt a surge of pride unlike anything he'd ever experienced. This wasn't just another repair job. It was the culmination of countless hours of effort, creativity, and collaboration, and it was only the beginning. Looking back, Marcus realized how much he'd grown since that fateful day on the tarmac. Joining Adrian's team hadn't just changed his career, it had transformed the way he saw himself and his potential. He'd gone from fixing planes to building them, from doubting his abilities to leading a groundbreaking initiative. Most importantly, he'd found a sense of purpose that extended far beyond personal achievement. Through his work, he was helping pave the way for a brighter, greener future, one flight at a time. As the prototype taxied down the runway, its engines humming softly, Marcus allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He thought about the long journey that had brought him here, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the triumphs. And he thought about the path ahead, knowing that whatever challenges lay in store, he was ready to face them head-on. After all, Marcus Thompson had always thrived under pressure. Now, with the world watching, he was proving once again that greatness knows no limits. Months turned into a year, and Marcus Thompson found himself at the center of something extraordinary. The hybrid electric prototype plane, once a collection of blueprints and ambitious ideas, had evolved into a fully functional marvel of modern engineering. Ground tests led to taxi trials, which eventually culminated in the first official test flight, a moment that would define not only Marcus's career but also the future of sustainable aviation. As the team gathered on the tarmac one crisp morning, anticipation crackled in the air like static electricity. The day began early, with final checks and last-minute adjustments. Marcus moved between the engineers, technicians, and pilots, ensuring every detail was perfect. He climbed aboard the plane to inspect the mechanical systems one last time, running his fingers along the sleek composite panels and double-checking the connections for the battery arrays. Despite his growing confidence in the project, he couldn't shake the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This wasn't just any test flight, it was the culmination of countless hours of work, sleepless nights, and relentless determination. If everything went well, it could change the course of aviation history. But if something went wrong, Marcus pushed those thoughts aside. Worrying wouldn't help now. Preparation would. By the time he stepped off the plane, the sun had risen, higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the runway. The team huddled together for a quick briefing before the big moment. Adrian Langley stood at the front, his usual composed demeanor softened by an unmistakable glimmer of excitement. "This is it," Adrian said, addressing the group. "Today isn't just about proving that our technology works. It's about showing the world what's possible when we dare to dream bigger. Each of you has played a vital role in getting us here, and I want to thank you for your dedication. Let's make this count." His words ignited a spark of pride among the team members, who exchanged nods and smiles. Marcus felt a lump rise in his throat as he looked around at the faces of the people he'd come to admire and respect. They weren't just colleagues anymore, they were family. Together, they had built something remarkable, and today was their chance to see it soar, as the pilot prepared for takeoff. Marcus joined Adrian and a few key team members in a nearby observation booth overlooking the runway. Through large windows, they watched the plane roll forward, its engines humming softly before roaring to life. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, with a surge of power, the prototype lifted gracefully into the air, leaving behind a trail of hope rather than exhaust fumes. Cheers erupted in the observation booth as the plane climbed steadily, executing smooth turns and maneuvers that demonstrated its agility and precision. Marcus gripped the railing tightly, his heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the engines. Everything appeared to be functioning perfectly, the hybrid system seamlessly switching between electric and jet propulsion, the reinforced fuselage holding steady against aerodynamic forces, and the advanced software managing energy distribution without a hitch. After 30 minutes of flawless flying, the plane returned to the runway, touching down with a gentle thud that echoed through the control room. The pilot emerged moments later, grinning from ear to ear. "She handled like a dream," he announced to the cheering crowd. Marcus exhaled deeply, realizing he'd been holding his breath the entire time. It was done. They'd done it. In the days that followed, news of the successful test flight spread like wildfire. Headlines hailed the achievement as a game-changer for the aviation industry, praising Adrian Langley's company for leading the charge toward sustainability. But amidst the media frenzy, Marcus remained grounded. He knew better than anyone that this was just the beginning. There were still challenges ahead: scaling production, securing regulatory approvals, and convincing airlines to adopt the new technology. But the hardest part was over. They had proven that sustainable aviation wasn't just a pipe dream. It was achievable. Adrian wasted no time capitalizing on the momentum. Within weeks, he announced plans to expand the division, investing heavily in research and development while partnering with major airlines and environmental organizations. Marcus played a central role in these efforts, traveling to conferences and workshops to share the team's findings and advocate for greener practices in the industry. His journey from mechanic to innovator became a source of inspiration for aspiring engineers and underrepresented groups in STEM fields. Schools invited him to speak, students reached out for advice, and industry leaders sought his expertise. Despite the whirlwind of attention, Marcus stayed true to his roots. He continued mentoring young technicians, emphasizing the importance of perseverance and creativity. One of his proudest accomplishments was launching an internship program aimed at providing opportunities for individuals from marginalized communities. "If I can do this," he often told them, "so can you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." As the years passed, Marcus's impact extended far beyond the hangar or the corporate boardroom. The hybrid electric planes entered commercial service, reducing emissions and setting new standards for efficiency. Airports around the world began transitioning to eco-friendly infrastructure, inspired by the innovations pioneered by Marcus and his team. And though Marcus never sought recognition for himself, his name became synonymous with progress, a testament to the power of hard work, collaboration, and believing in a brighter future. On the 5th anniversary of the first test flight, Marcus stood once again on the tarmac, this time watching as a fleet of next-generation hybrid planes prepared for departure. Beside him stood Adrian, now sporting a few more gray hairs but no less passionate about their shared mission. "We did good, Marcus," Adrian said, clapping him on the shoulder. "But there's still so much more to do." Marcus nodded, quiet smile spreading across his face. "Always," he replied. "That's the beauty of it. We'll never run out of ways to make things better." And with that, Marcus turned his gaze skyward, watching as the planes ascended into the clouds. Somewhere up there, amid the vast expanse of blue, lay infinite possibilities. Possibilities he had helped create. Not because he was extraordinary, but because he believed in the extraordinary potential within himself and others. It was a lesson Marcus carried with him every day. Greatness isn't reserved for the privileged few. It belongs to anyone willing to put in the effort, embrace the challenges, and keep reaching for the skies.